G'day guys, ZiggyD here and welcome back for some more Avorion. In the last episode of the Survival Guide, we set about making some starting money and locating some titanium so that we could upgrade our ship. We've ended up with 170,000 credits through some nice endeavors and 2,500 titanium, which is going to be enough for us to make some initial important upgrades to our ship so that we can get rid of this thing that says your ship is very weak. However, before we get started on that, I have had a few Xsotan ships warp into the sector, so I just want to be keeping an eye on them. Looks like they might be engaging with a cargo transport here, which is a good opportunity for us if we want to play the less kind of like moral kind of role of scavenging our friends after they die. We could certainly take advantage of that. I'm going to go ahead and re-equip a salvaging laser. Very handy to always have a salvaging laser on hand. So that even when you're attacking enemies, you can deal damage with them because they do decent damage to hulls, and also so that you can get a little bit of materials from them at the same time, as well as taking advantage of any wreckages that happen to occur. It would be, as we are still quite empowered, it would be a bit dangerous for us to engage straight away, so we're going to wait for a few of these frigates that are moving in. We've got some corvettes and frigates moving in here, as well as a salesman taking some of that fire and a cargo transport taking some of that fire. But we will go help. The Xsotan don't aggro on you straight away until you start firing weapons in the sector, including mining lasers and things like that, so it's not too bad to kind of just chill and wait. They're not too much of a threat until we actually choose to engage them, so we can wait until they're a little bit weaker and then we can help out and scavenge some of the drops. Okay, I'm going to move up to the left side here so we can kind of put our friends in between us and the Xsotan a little bit, though I don't want to lose my firing angles, so just waiting for these guys to get a little bit weaker. Looks like this one here has quite a bit of firepower. It at least has some very high fire rate chain guns, as does this one here from the looks of it. And this one looks like it might be chasing off the cargo vessel, so we just want to keep an eye on those and keep kind of pay attention to the range that we're at. We have about 5 kilometer range on our weapons at the moment. So we'll move in over here, and then maybe we can help our friends out and start taking some pot shots. This guy's getting pretty low, so I'll start helping now. Looks like our salvaging laser hasn't been hotkeyed. As I'm taking fire, straight away one of them switched to me. I'm going to try and just move out of range of the one that was shooting at me there. We're just going to be trying to avoid taking any damage if possible, because it's going to cost us a little bit of extra money that we could be using for upgrades to repair. But we will try and help these guys out. So one of the Xsotan is down, just moving just slightly into range here. This chain gun I have here at the moment is not very good. And we'll just help out our buddies just a little bit. If we start taking fire, we'll move, and move somewhat erratically as well, using my afterburners and kind of changing my direction a bit so that I'm avoiding taking fire as much as possible. And that worked pretty well. I don't think we actually really took any hits there. We might have taken like 1 or 2 stray bullets somewhere that we may have to, gonna move into range, that we may have to repair before we can do some upgrades, but we're not gonna lose too much money at this point. Looks like that ship has dropped a system chip there, so we'll be able to go pick that up. It's annoying me a bit that my salvage laser is firing, but we can fix the hotkeys up for that in a moment. It's not really a big deal. The salvage laser here doesn't draw any additional power, so it's not too much of a problem. Alright, let's move in and finish this guy off. So we'll have some good salvage opportunities here. These guys might be made from titanium, mostly iron from the looks of things. And that looks like all of the Xsotan have been destroyed. Good stuff. Alright, so we at least got one system chip here that could be useful. Hopefully it's something like a turret upgrade would be nice. And it looks like it's a cargo capacity upgrade. So we could go ahead and salvage this guy as well. So let me re-hotkey up my laser there. We can put that on 3 since the other one's a mining laser. Since this is also just mostly iron, I'll use my regular chain gun as well to help destroy it faster, and we can get some, maybe some systems to drop or some turrets or something like that. That could be handy for us. Looks like we got one more system here. What is this one? That looks like another engine upgrade, which is probably just something we can sell for a bit of extra cash. And there's one more salvage here that I can go for, and we'll see if we get anything. This is a bit of a bigger one here. Ooh, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. Looks like we've got a green system upgrade there. It's a velocity unlimiter, so just another one to sell for a bit of cash. But that could net us like another 10,000 credits or something, which could be quite handy. We did just get a turret. Looks like a bolter of some description. Double bolter. Could be alright. Not super high DPS. And the bolters, mostly make or break on the bolters is how good their cooldown is, whether they have a very long overheating cycle or not. Alright, so now that those Xsotan have taken care of, I'm going to head over to this equipment dock. It's a good idea whenever you're making larger upgrades to your ship to do so in a friendly territory that has some nice stations nearby. So things like equipment docks can be quite handy because they can allow you to purchase and sell some like system components and turrets and things like that as well. So you can take advantage of that. Because once you start scaling up your ship, increasing the size of it and the volume of it, then you can start adding more system upgrades to your ship so you can get more turrets and more things like that. As well as you may also need additional crew once you increase the size of your ship and add extra systems to it. It's quite likely that as we increase the size of our ship, we may need more engineers or more mechanics, for example. Alright, after making some small repairs, we are now ready to start upgrading our ship. This thing is a hunk of junk, so I'm very eager to spend some of these credits and titanium that we've gotten on improving it quite a bit. So titanium is a pretty key early game element to get nice and early on because it allows you to get two very, very important blocks, and that is the titanium generator and the integrity field generator. So let's start with titanium generator. As you've noticed in the past, we've had some energy generation issues. We're currently using 400 megawatts just standing still like this. But when we're using like our afterburners and hyperspace drive and things like that, our required energy shoots way up and are only generating 500 megawatts of energy. So that means things like the hyperspace cooldown takes a really long time and we don't have any afterburners during that. So if we warp into a sector that has pirates in it, then we may have a really hard time getting away. And it also limits our ability to add extra systems to our ship as well. If we want to add an extra, let's say a turret ship, it's going to take another 200 megawatts of power, which we just simply don't have at the moment, so we actually can't add any extra turrets to our ship right now. As such, one of the key things we need to do first is give ourselves some generators. So, titanium generators are pretty simple at their core. The amount of generated energy that they give you is simply based on the volume of the block. So as we scale this up, you can see that a generator of this size would give us a massive 11 gigawatts of power. We're not going to need that much. So we're going to be looking to add maybe a few small generators or just one, decent sized generator to this ship. Something that's going to give us something like maybe a gigawatt of power so that we can add a few upgrades to our ship and expand it. So we did previously add some modular framework sections here, and we can use these to upgrade. So I've already got selected the titanium generator, so I can upgrade these one by one. These are smaller quarter-sized blocks as compared to like the regular kind of 2x2x2 here. So we can go ahead and upgrade some of these and see how much each one of these gives us. So we've got 165 megawatts of additional power there. That's not too bad. I'm going to shoot for about 1 to 1.5 gigawatts for now. Each one of these little upgrades here costs 1200 credits, which is a bit, but we have a fair bit of credits now after our work in the last episode, and about 100 titanium. We have quite a bit at this point, so we can go ahead and add a little bit of extra power. Having a bit more than we actually need is not a bad idea, because it's going to allow us to expand a bit beyond and add more things to our ship. Alright, so I got myself to 1.5 gigawatts of generated energy, just making things nice and symmetrical here, added a few little panels. If you wanted to, you could select these 3 smaller panels. If you ever have smaller panels like this, you can select them. And then you can actually use this merge selected blocks function here to actually just merge this into one larger generator. Doesn't really change too much in terms of generator here, but what it does do is makes that generator more more sturdy. It's a larger block, so it has more hit points. So if, let's say, this side armor got blown off and this started taking fire, this would be less likely to be destroyed. It's not very likely that that's going to happen, but it certainly doesn't hurt to just combine them into one larger generator here. The merge blocks function can have a bit more of an impact on other components in your ship though. Things like cargo bays, for example. They have a bit of kind of like a rounding thing going on, where if we put 2 blocks next to each other, like this, that's giving us currently 7.9 cargo hold space. Now if we merge this into one block, we actually get 9.1, so it's a bit more efficient because we actually store more in this larger cargo bay that's occupying the same area and the same total volume than we can in 2 smaller ones that are occupying that same volume. So that's handy to know. Some blocks will benefit from being merged. Okay, so now that we're generating a decent amount of energy, the next thing I want to talk about is this integrity field generator. This one is super important, especially early game before we get any shields. You may have noticed if you've gotten into any combat at this point, especially if you had some exposed thrusters or gyros or inertial dampeners or anything like that, and they got shot, they may have actually been destroyed. It's quite easy for parts of your ship to be blown off in combat before you get integrity field generators. Integrity field generators won't stop that from happening, but they'll make it a lot harder. And the way they work is any blocks within a bubble radius of the integrity field will have 10 times the amount of hit points. That's the way it currently works. So the bubble that is protected by the integrity field is based on simply the volume of the integrity field generator. So if we put a tiny little block here, it's only going to create a very small 3D bubble around it that would put this block in the integrity field. In fact, we might not even be getting enough integrity field off this one block to reach the entirety of this larger thing. It looked like it was being covered by that blue there. Sometimes the blue display is a little buggy. Now, if we increase the size of this, let's say to here, that should create enough integrity field bubble that it's actually going to reach other sections of the ship. As the display's been a little buggy, I just jumped out of the build menu real quick and then jumped back into it. And when you select an integrity field generator, it should show up the blue kind of like this blue field, which shows which blocks are actually covered by the integrity field. So this kind of medium-sized block here is giving integrity field to almost everything on our ship, but not the front plate, not this section here, and not the very rear of the ship. So something a little larger than this would create a large enough bubble to encompass our whole ship at the moment, so we don't need too much in the way of integrity field generators. Alternatively, what you can do though, is just create several smaller integrity field generators in key areas of your ship so that the bubbles kind of like overlap or cover the most of your ship. So if we put one here, looks like, and then put one over here, looks like that's going to be covering almost everything, though it looks like the bubble from this one is not quite reaching the engine bay and the things underneath. But you can basically place integrity field generators around your ship until you do get 100% coverage. The only drawback to this is if these are exposed, these can be shot and destroyed, and if they're a smaller block like that, they won't have very many hit points, so leaving those exposed can be a little dangerous. So there's a few ways you can go with integrity field generators. You can hide some in key locations around your ship that aren't likely to get shot, but are going to give enough bubble coverage to the pretty much all of your ship or all of the important parts of your ship. Or you can just go with some larger ones in the center of your ship so that the bubble gets large enough that it covers your entire ship. This display is a little buggy, but if you have issues with it, you can just leave the build menu. And I find just doing that and selecting integrity field generator again will fix the display. Okay, I'm going to see how much a block here, like a thin slab next to our shield generator, will give us coverage of the ship. Alright, it looks like that's covering most of the back half of the ship, but though it is leaving some of the front half exposed. What we could do then is maybe put another integrity field generator just here at the front, and that should cover just about everything. Alright, so looking at that, that's giving coverage to the front armor, all of the external pieces of the ship, not this little cosmetic piece back here maybe, but that's not a big deal. It is leaving exposed a couple of the middle sections of our ship, but that's probably quite livable for now. That's not too much of a problem because these are protected by armor and also by other blocks around them, so that shouldn't be too much of an issue. So all of these blocks now in this blue field, including this piece of armor here, which already had high hit points, now have 10 times the amount of hit points. It doesn't increase the overall health of your ship, in terms of it being fully destroyed, but it does increase the individual block health of each block, which just makes them much less likely to be blown off your ship. And when that comes to, you know, avoiding losing your engines or your thrusters, for example, that can be quite helpful. Okay, so the other thing that you may recall when we first built this ship was we couldn't really add too much in the way of inertia dampeners, and that was because we just weren't generating enough energy to support them. Inertia dampeners do take a lot of energy, though they do provide a lot of braking power though, and also help reducing drift on your ship. So they're pretty useful blocks, and now that we have that generation, we can actually add another one to the other side. So let's go ahead and take inertia dampener, and I'll upgrade this piece here into an inertia dampener. Our required energy is now 546, but we've still got a full gigawatt of energy kind of spare at the moment. And our brake thrust has gone up to 68 meters per second, which is higher than our actual thrust at the moment. Now at this point, I want to talk about upgrading your ship kind of in a more general sense. Now materials in Avorion have different properties about them. They're not always necessarily better than each other. Though in the case of iron to titanium, titanium is a straight up 100% upgrade over iron. It is lighter and has more health, so in every way it's pretty much better. However, you will eventually encounter elements like naonite, which is better for things like energy generators and shield generators, so it's better for those kind of like computery things. It's more efficient for those. However, naonite doesn't have armor blocks. It's not well suited to the creation of armor. You can create regular hull pieces with it, but you can't create actual armor. So once you get to naonite, you might find yourself using titanium armor, and then naonite internals. For now though, as we have titanium being straight upgrade for iron, what we can do is start to replace some of the iron sections of our ship with titanium sections that are exactly the same. And what this will do is it'll increase the overall health of our ship, making us much sturdier in combat. It'll increase the health of those individual blocks, and it'll reduce the weight of our ship, while maintaining the same volume. So what we do, we want to increase the volume of our ship so that we can add extra systems to our ship. As you can see here, systems require a certain amount of volume to unlock. So to unlock a third system upgrade for our ship, we would need 320 cubic kilometers of volume. Now the good thing about reducing weight is it's going to increase our thrust. It's also going to reduce the amount of energy required for our engines to work, so it's going to make us more energy efficient. And it's also going to increase our maneuverability. Our yaw, our pitch, our roll, and things like that are all going to become much better. So we can start with some heavy pieces of our ship, especially things like our edge armor here. So at the moment we have some iron edge armor. We could go ahead and upgrade this into titanium edge armor. So the easiest way to do this is just going to be grab that and to choose the transform blocks tool. We could start replacing these and changing it and changing the shape of our ship, of course, but we can just upgrade this. And the cost of that's not going to be too bad. It'll also refund the cost of the iron as well. Looks like we're being rudely interrupted by some pirates here, so we better deal with them first. Looks like we actually have a Xsotan attack nearby. Alright, we can deal with that. Another reason why it's a good idea to be doing this near friendlies, so that if any pirates or anything attack, you'll have some people to help defend you. There we go, this guy popped out a couple turrets from the looks of things. Looks like we got potentially 2 chain gun turrets, or a chain gun turret and a bolter turret there. And also a green ship system. Not bad. Not bad at all. It's another velocity control upgrade, so that's just a bit of credits for us. The neat thing is about parking near this equipment dock here is it actually has cannons on it, it has turrets on it. If you select something, you'll be able to see down in the bottom right, firepower, and that's measured in Omicron. This has 140 Omicron. For comparison, we only have 54 Omicron, so this thing actually does more damage than us, so parking near this will help protect us from Xsotan and pirates. Alright, so back to the upgrading. We were just upgrading the titanium edge armor, the iron edge armor to titanium edge armor. What I want to do is kind of show the difference here, just demonstrate the difference. So let's go ahead and just change this back into iron. And this is a little bit confusing because it seems a little backwards, but basically we'll pay attention to, say, the thrust and brake thrust of our ship, which is currently, with this large iron block on our ship, it is currently 64 thrust and 68 brake thrust. So if we upgrade this, we go to 66 thrust and 70 brake thrust. So we gain 2 on each of those. So now we move a bit faster, and we now brake a bit faster. If you wanted to, if you were using iron hull, for example, you could also upgrade that to titanium armor to make it much sturdier. The top section of our ship is a decent spot to do that because it's going to be taking a fair bit of fire. Now this might actually increase the weight, because although iron hull is pretty heavy and certainly heavier than titanium hull, titanium armor might well be heavier than iron hull. So let's take a look. Looks like we did actually lose mass, so titanium armor in this case actually lighter than iron hull, so we still lost mass even though we gained a lot of hit points. And you can see our ship hit points going up there, now up to 696. Though to save on weight even further, some of these sections that are a bit less important, covering like the sides for example, I'm going to turn these into titanium hull. That'll still be tougher, but it'll also be much lighter than titanium armor. Our thrust going from 68.72 to 70.74, so you can just see as we upgrade each of these components, how our ship is becoming lighter and more maneuverable. At the same time, that health is just going up and up and up. It's also going to be a really good idea to upgrade these thrusters to titanium. So we'll go ahead and upgrade our thrusters here. If you've got mirrored blocks, you can actually use the mirrored command when you're upgrading things, and it'll upgrade both of the pieces, as long as the mirror axis is in the right spot. So let's go ahead and do that. There we go. Both of these now are titanium thrusters. And even sections like the crew quarters can be upgraded into titanium crew quarters, which will reduce our weight even further, while also further increasing our ship's health. That actually gained us a lot of extra maneuverability and health, so we're now at 80 and 85 thrust and brake thrust. Gyros are another block that can be upgraded. We do have access to titanium gyros, so we can go ahead and reduce the weight of those. You can see our performance improving even further there. And of course, very importantly, we do have this heavy iron engine here, which we could replace the titanium engine. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this ship even faster. So I'm actually going to take this engine, and I'm going to, I'll go ahead and Control C it. We'll do a Control V there. And we'll place it back in the same spot, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the overall size of this down a bit. I'll turn the scale step back to 0.5 so that we end up with the same size block here. I'm going to bring that downwards like that. So it's going to expose a little bit down underneath our ship, but that should be well protected by our armor and our facing. Now I am, though, of course, going to upgrade this to a titanium engine, which will not only make it lighter, which will make our energy requirements more efficient and increase our ship's health and increase our maneuverability, and we can watch that in action here. Very nice, but it also makes it look dope. Each engine has a different color to it as well, though we can, of course, change that using hologram blocks. I'm also going to clip these crappy little iron wings here. We'll take those off and turn us back into even more of a brick. And then I'm going to add some titanium armor wings instead, which will be much sturdier. These larger wings are going to add a lot of extra weight to our ship and reduce our maneuverability, but we can assess that once we place them and have a look at what we can do to improve that. However, it is also going to add a lot of health to our ship, as this is overall increasing the block volume of our ship and increasing it with armor. So these are heavy, chunky wings here, but we'll see what we can do. It's also going to help improve that volume even further, which could get us towards that next system upgrade. Alright, so it looks like our thrust now is at 98 with that larger engine, and our brake thrust is at 69. Our health has gone up to 1200 HP, which is way, way higher than what we started with. Now what I'd like to do, because this is a bit of a starter ship, and we're making this nice and kind of easy to maneuver and unlikely to crash, I'm going to add a bit more braking potential to the ship. So we could do that with thrusters, or we could do that with inertia dampeners. It's going to make it really nice and easy if we have very high brake thrust, because we'll be able to stop very quickly before we crash into an asteroid or something like that. So what we can do is take some of these and basically just expand the size of these initial iron inertia dampeners. You'll notice I haven't upgraded the iron inertia dampeners to titanium, and that's because titanium inertia dampeners don't exist. You have to use iron for these. So I'm going to upgrade the blocks behind the existing inertia dampeners, and then I'll just go ahead and merge these blocks as well. That's not going to give any benefit in terms of braking power or anything like that, but it will give us a little bit of benefit in terms of the block's stability. I find the merge tools a little funky sometimes, so I select both of these guys and try to merge them, but it's not quite merging. Not sure why that is exactly. I'll try again there. If it doesn't cooperate with me, I'll just delete it and copy this one and replace the block instead. And there we go, that's giving us 117 meters per second of braking power. We have required energy of 777, but we've got almost twice that in terms of generated energy, so even when we're at full thrust, our power should be pretty good right now. So we can actually test this if we pick a bit of a clear spot of space. We'll engage our afterburners here, and we can see down the bottom, that orange bar, that's our current energy consumption. Once that fills up, we'll actually start to run down our battery, which is the yellow bar just below that at the bottom of the screen. So it'll take a little bit, but if we're not generating enough energy to maintain engine power at this level for long enough, we'll start to run down that battery. You can see that happening now. If we actually press P and go to our energy system here, we can actually see how much energy our engines are using at peak. So if we basically just boost that to full, then we can see that. Now that our batteries run out, we actually don't have any afterburners, and we're kind of just moving along very slowly. But we can see we ended up using something like 2 gigawatts of power there. The good news is we're never really going to be thrusting at that speed for very long, so as long as you have enough to allow you to, get those afterburners going to get out of combat, put 10Ks between yourself and some enemies or something, then you're going to be pretty good. And with our current battery capacity and with our current generation, that seems to be just fine. The other test you can do is jump to another sector and see whether your battery runs down just from your hyperspace drive recharging. It's okay if it does a bit, but if your hyperspace drive is mostly fully recharged by the time your battery runs down, then that's pretty safe. You basically just want to have a bit of power to play with in case you need to get out of danger if there's a bunch of pirates near you. Speaking of, let's take our newly upgraded ship to deal with a couple of bandits that have warped in here. We can feel much safer moving into battle now. We have something like 4 times the health that we had before, maybe even more than that. And we also have integrity fields. Before we move into combat, maybe we can check how our integrity fields are looking now that we've expanded the ship a little bit. And it looks like pretty much everything is covered. The engine is covered, even the wings are covered. So I'm feeling pretty confident about moving into combat now. We'll be able to start taking fire. Still not a good idea. You still want to avoid taking fire if possible. but we could probably handle these 3 pirates by ourselves. The only problem is we don't have much in the way of weaponry. What we could do before we move into combat, actually, is take off this mining laser, because we're probably not going to do too much more mining. I think I've covered that as much as I'm happy. We'll sort by DPS here, selecting this drop-down box, and it'll give us a DPS sorting. This is not completely accurate, because it doesn't take into account things like cooldowns and stuff, but we could take like this triple chain gun turret that's 24 DPS and whack it on the other side here. Remember to hotkey up any new weapons you put on, and let's move into combat. Alright, we're taking fire, but you can see we can handle a lot more fire than what we were able to handle before. Still, we don't want to be taking concentrated fire from 3 pirates here, so we're still going to have to move. Looks like we're still a little bit overwhelmed by taking fire from all of them at once. Here we go, let's move into... Okay. That guy's got a bit more... Oh, yeah, scanning him now, he has 280 Omicron. Gonna be a good idea to check those ships to see how high their firepower is. I was getting a little overconfident there. That's okay, it's perfect for testing purposes. You carefully want to gauge exactly how much damage you can take and how much threat some of these like early pirates and Xsotan present to you. Since we've taken a lot of damage, we're going to move around these guys and head towards the repair dock here before we re-engage. You can repair in the field yourself, but it's cheaper to repair at an actual repair dock. So we can have a look here if we go into the repair menu. It'll cost us 6,000 credits and 800 titanium, which is a fair amount, right? That's a lot of titanium that we just got. So we want to reduce those costs as much as possible. Looks like I got a little bit overconfident there. Good lesson learned. Alright, docking with the repair dock, it's only going to cost 600 titanium or a bit under that, and under 5k credits, so a bit cheaper there. Alright, let's play things a little safer this time. Go help our friends deal with these pirates. There we go. Very good. While we're here, we can salvage that titanium generator there. Get a bit more titanium for upgrades. There's another 400 titanium, very nice. Which is good, because we just spent a lot of that on repairs. Ooh, I also see a blue upgrade over there. That'll be a rare one. Let's go get that. Looks like this dropped from a friendly cargo freighter. It's a blue chip. What do we get? Ooh, it's a scanner. Nice. That's helpful for scanning for those yellow mass sectors we looked at in the previous episode. That'll have an increased range on it, depending on what the rolls look like. Alright, there's a few friends engaging this bandit here. Looks like we've found his weak side here. Ooh, he's doing a lot of damage to us though. Let's fly. Looks like he's got a bolter there that's doing quite a bit of damage. I like to push things to the edge a little bit, but not a good idea. If your hull's getting very low, it's not the best idea to go ahead and engage. Oh damn. However, this has been a pretty good test of the old integrity field generators. As you can see, we haven't lost any parts off our ship. Although we've taken almost lethal damage, so looks like the inertial dampeners are working. Sorry, the integrity fields are working. Alright, we're gonna let our friends finish him off, because we have taken way too much damage there, and we're actually not probably gonna have enough titanium to make full repairs at this point. Just making sure my mechanics are currently at 130%. They will repair you over time, so that'll help us help reduce our repair costs a little bit. Looks like our friendly ship might actually go down here. This guy had a really nasty bolter with lots of hull damage on it, from the looks of things. And the amount of damage we're taking and the amount of damage our friend was taking there. Ooh, that's gonna be a close fight. I think our friend's gonna lose here. We might actually want to move out of range ourselves so we don't get killed. It would cost us 644 titanium to get ourselves fully repaired from the current damage we've taken, so we're gonna have to carefully scavenge some titanium while avoiding getting killed by this guy, because we're both almost dead, but I think he would probably take us out. Oh, he's taking shots at me. Evasive maneuvers time. This bandit just has free reign at this point. He took out most of the defensive frigates and stuff in the area, and now he's just going ham on loaders. Oh no, and it's up to us to save the sector, but we're so almost dead. We're so very dead. How will we save the sector? To do this, we're gonna have to do some sneaky salvaging. Get enough to get repairs, and then go finish this guy off. Let's just make sure we're out of range of him. There we go. That's almost enough for some repairs, I think. Let's try and get a little bit more. Okay, I can see another generator right on back there. Alright, that should be enough for repairs. Thought I'd throw a little bit of entertainment into the episodes as well, eh? Alright, let's see if we can find a repair dock. There's a shipyard. Shipyards offer repairs as well. And it's a little further away from that bandit that's just wrecking up the sector. Alright, there we go. Fully repaired. It's time to go save our friends and protect the sector. Let's do this. I'm gonna do this as a bit of a strafing run so we can avoid as much fire from him as possible. So I'm gonna just make sure I'm angled away from him. And I'm gonna take shots as we continue in that direction. We have to angle our shots correctly, so we were missing mostly there. Looks like he's mostly occupied. Oh, he's going for us now. There we go. He's doing a lot of damage to us. Finish him off, come on. He's so close. Yes! There we go. Oh, we got him. Oh, and he dropped some nice drops too. Plus 20,000 bounty. Oh, yes. Screw that guy. That bandit was nasty. He had some nasty bolters on him. Let's go ahead and salvage his carcass for some materials to repair the damage he did. Oh, damn. Hey, there we go. Looks like from that bandit we were rewarded. There we go. It looks like from that bandit we were well rewarded for our efforts and suffering. I definitely got a little bit overeager there. Very good advice to try and get into scanning range of any bandits, especially early on before you get shields. And just select them and check out what their firepower looks like. You know, if they're sitting at something like 200 Omicron, then they might be a little bit dangerous and you'll want to engage with friendlies nearby. But we have been well rewarded for our efforts with a very nice +2 armed turrets chip. And in addition to that, we also got a scanner from this fight with 4 deep scan range, which is going to be very good for locating those yellow mass sectors. Very nice. We have a decent hyperspace upgrade, and we also have another armed turrets upgrade here. So now that we have quite a bit of power, we can actually mix in a few of these things. You're usually going to want to run as many turrets as possible, but you can also take advantage of any generator upgrades, and you can temporarily use hyperspace upgrades. You can basically pop them in, and then warp to where you want to warp to, and then take them out. Same thing with scanners. You can pop in a scanner and see if there's any yellow mass sectors around you. Doesn't look like there's any near me at the moment. In the meantime, I'll go ahead and leave a freebie in like a recharge rate battery upgrade or a generator upgrade. Well, the upside of so many of our friends being killed by these bandits is that we do have a lot of salvage opportunities now. Alright, so now that we've found some additional turret chips, we can go ahead and increase our arsenal a little bit. We can go ahead and add some of the extra weaponry we have here to take advantage of the extra armed turret slots we have now. So we have, it looks like another 3 slots for weapons, so it's going to be very handy. I can go ahead and use these new wings that we added as hard points for some of these turrets as well. We have some overheating bolted turrets, but although they overheat, as long as you have some other weapons to fall back on, the extra bonus damage to hulls early on can be pretty good. You kind of just have to test bolted turrets to see how bad the overheating is and how much of a problem it is for you. You may prefer the more consistent damage of a non-bolted turret, for example. Alright, naturally after adding more turrets to your ship, you are going to need to, A, hotkey them, and also get more crew to man them as well. So we're going to need quite a few more gunners. I think there's some professional gunners at this station, in fact. Always opting for those professionals wherever possible as well. Alright, found some professional gunners here at the equipment dock. That'll give us more than enough for what we need for now. That looks like it's pretty much perfect, 10 out of 10. We currently have one chip slot that's not really doing too much for us in combat or on the regular basis. Anything like trading systems and hyperspace upgrades and scanners can basically just be rotated in as you need them. So if we want to do some trading, we can just leave this in for a couple of jumps to get the trading routes, or if we just want to find the prices in the sector we're in, we can just do that. As such, I'm going to head to the equipment dock and see what's available here in terms of upgrades that we can potentially purchase. So there are some turret control systems here. There's an all turrets +1. Dedicated is usually better because you'll get higher numbers. A green dedicated turret control system will usually give you 2 unarmed or 2 armed turrets. So that one's not perfectly ideal, though I guess it is flexible. There's a very nice hyperspace upgrade there, but it is $500,000. So we're going to avoid that for now. Now, I'll inform you of a gaming mechanic that you can take advantage of in single player if you so desire to not fly around to different equipment docks. If you close the game, close the galaxy, and then log back in, the equipment docks will refresh their stocks, so they'll actually change what's available. So you can jump in and out a few times, resetting the vendor until you have some gear that you want to purchase. If you'd prefer to avoid that, then you can go ahead and avoid that, and if you're playing on a multiplayer service, you won't be able to take advantage of that anyway. For now, though, I'm just going to go ahead and purchase this extra turret control system. And we can put that in this free slot here, which will give us 1 more turret. Certainly not going to hurt. Alright, and that's brought us up to 146 Omicrons of power, and it just so happens that perfectly timed, we have some bandits warping in for us to test our new weaponry on. Oh, I'm looking forward to this. This might be a bit of time for some sweet revenge, perhaps. Very nice. We're certainly much more combat capable now, but these pirates are still very dangerous, so we have to be careful. Woo! That guy's weapons are pretty nasty. Woo, that's a little close. Also, oh damn, that was close. How far away are you? All right, we can salvage very quickly. Oh damn, that was a little close. I like to ride the line between life and death. Our engines are running really hot. In a prolonged battle like that, our energy generation is starting to exceed our engine usage a little bit. So, good idea to back off until we have our afterburners back. Not to mention, need some repairs. Yeah, it looks like with the extra turret control chip we added in, our generated energy is only a little bit higher than our required energy at the moment, so our batteries are recharging very slowly, and our afterburners run down our batteries, so we're going to want to improve our energy generation capabilities a bit. And that's a big part of the process in Avorion, right? Is like finding upgrades, using them, realizing you're gonna need to make some extra changes to your ship, give yourself more energy generation, you know, expand things a little bit, and just continually improve things as you
go.
And I've found that to be a very, very enjoyable and addictive cycle. Oh, that's what I'm talking about. If I had to scavenge for a bit more of titanium for repairs, I found this massive generator here. I'm gonna damage it with my regular weaponry to bring it down low enough to actually salvage. That is an absolutely massive behemoth generator on this wreckage. This is gonna give us the titanium we need for some repairs and maybe a few more upgrades. We need to build another generator ourselves. Ooh, there we go, 1800 titanium. Very nice. Alright, some repairs have been made, and now realizing after we did a couple of upgrades that we're going to need more power, so it's going to be a good idea for us to add some more generators. So we can go ahead and expand out this generator here, for example. We could even add one really big generator, though we may not want to spend exactly that much titanium now. Alright, there we go. I got about 2.5 gigawatts of generated energy now, which is going to be enough to keep us safe for a while. And eventually we'll be able to potentially expand our ship downwards in 3D space if we want to as well. And we can bring the front armor plate down. We can expand it pretty much any way we want. We could add things on top. For now though, I'm just going to add some titanium hull to the bottom just to provide a little bit more hit points and just to protect some of those generators that we've added in now. So I'll just add a little angled hull piece there for now temporarily. Alright, naturally I've gone ahead and made a, you know, just a few more upgrades here. Mostly stylistic ones, just to make it look a little fancier. I like them neon glows. I'm a bit of a sucker for it, really. But there's a little bit more I kind of just wanted to get into. At this point, our maneuverability is quite good. Yaw and pitch are both well within acceptable ranges. Anywhere near 2 is quite good, really. So very happy with that. Now thrust and brake thrust, both pretty happy with that as well. One thing that is quite low is roll. I have not personally found roll to be too essential, as long as your pitch and yaw are good. Roll can help you kind of like roll out of a certain awkward position and into a new facing if your pitch and yaw aren't amazing, so it can kind of help out in some of those situations. But nonetheless, there's some things you can do to improve it if you do wish to make your ship handle a little better in that way. Of course, gyro arrays give you roll at their initial facing. You can rotate it until you get this blue kind of spinny one there, and gyros are just going to give you a sweet amount of roll. Doesn't even really matter where you put the roll, just the gyros, it just depends on the volume of it. And you don't need very large gyros to add roll to your ship, so just adding an internal gyro to add a bit of roll is going to suck up a little bit of power and add a little bit of weight and so on and cost your ship. It's really not that expensive. Look, a little piece like this isn't too bad. And if we wanted to upgrade the internals here, we could simply reveal our framework using this tool, and then we could just upgrade one of these into it. Otherwise, we'd have to remove the bottom plate and replace and rebuild a gyro if we wanted to build something smaller, for example. So that's one way. Alternatively, we could add thrusters. Thrusters can help add roll quite a bit as well. Alright, so I'll demonstrate with directional thrusters what sort of thing is going to give you roll. Now, putting one here in the middle is going to give a tiny little bit, not very much at all. You can see it's a little bit better if we move it around a little bit, but what matters most is kind of to the outsides of our ship. So up and down facing thrust towards the external areas of our ship is going to give us the best possible roll. So if we were to mirror this and strap some under our wings there, that'll give us a fair bit of roll, get us within like 1.5 rads of roll, which would be pretty good. So we could strap those on, give those a little bit of a test there. We can also do a little bit of this action where we spin our camera around and see how our ship maneuvers. So we need a little bit of roll to correct our facing there when we do that. So that's working pretty nicely, so that's not too bad at all. So that's one way of doing it. Of course, if you want to kind of balance this out a little bit, you can use regular thrusters there. And depending on the shape of them, as I mentioned in the previous like construction episode, the first episode, the surface area is going to matter. So the surface area to volume that's facing down. So larger volume thrusters, more power, but surface area facing downwards and upwards will be what predominantly gives you roll. So if I were to add 2 thrusters to, let's say, the wings of my ship, maybe a little bit something like this. We can pretend they're like little missile bays or something like that if we want to be fancy. We can see something like this would give a fair amount of roll, as well as giving us a little bit of pitch and yaw. It's got that up-down kind of, it's because it's placed a little bit towards the front of our ship, which is giving us that pitch, and a bit of yaw as well, because it's got that left, right, sideways kind of edges there that's going to push on the sides of our ship and turn us around. So you can see kind of like further out to the edges of the ships, and if you're building a ship with wings, they can be like under or on the wings or at the edge of the wings or something like that. That's going to provide us with a fair amount of roll there. So the maneuverability there looks quite good. Of course, thrusters can be shot off quite easily, but as long as they're in integrity fields, they're going to be a fair bit safer. So the integrity field generation is currently covering this one, but not covering this edge one. So we would potentially need to expand that integrity field bubble to include this one as well. Otherwise, this one's quite likely to be shot off. Alternatively, you can, of course, always just armor those as well. So we could do some like match block armoring and just place some like armor plates on this. Again, in Avorion, it doesn't matter if you actually end up covering your thrusters. They will still work just fine. I added the thrusters under the wings, armor plated them up a little bit, made them look fancy. We can pretend they're like little missile things or something. Looks kind of dope. And we ended up with a decent amount of maneuverability too. 1.2 rads a roll, 2.4 pitch, 1.7 yaw, plenty of brake thrust, and it looks dope. Oh yes, very nice. So, hopefully this is kind of giving you guys a bit of an idea of some of the upgrading process, right? You can just continue improving and expanding on here. One thing that I didn't cover that is pretty helpful is if you want to keep the same ship, but you just want it to become more powerful in every way, and you can actually use this modify entire ship tool. As long as you have the resources to do it, you can actually just scale up your ship. So if we wanted to make this ship just slightly larger, but otherwise exactly the same, then we can scale it up. We can only scale it by a little bit because we're not going to have enough titanium to do so, but we can just like slowly move it up there. You get a little bit of an idea, but it usually does a pretty good job of keeping the same kind of aesthetics of the ship. Sometimes the scaling will be a little funny in some ways, especially if you do like thin armor plating in certain areas, but for the most part it works pretty well. And you can use this to just increase the overall like health of your ship as well as improving the volume. So let's go ahead and do that a little bit here. So let's go ahead and go up to, let's say, 737 titanium, 6,000 credits. We're multiplying it by 1.085. So we're improving it by we're increasing its size by 8.5%. So this will remove the turrets, we'll have to replace those. But we'll have a look at our health. Our health is 1,586, so 1,586, and our volume is 179. So once these things move out of the way, our volume is now 229. And our hull has moved up to, once it moves out of the way, 2,026 health. So it's not quite enough to get us to the next chip. We're going to need 800 kilometers. It looks like we did already access the third one there. So we need 800 kilometers cubed to reach the next one. So that's going to be a little ways off. But it has increased the overall size, health of the ship. Sometimes your stats will change a little bit, but for the most part, if your ship was already in pretty good working order, then they shouldn't change too much. You may want to go ahead and like improve some like little aesthetic components, like for example, I had really thin kind of little hologram edges here. They will have been made a little thicker in the scaling, so I could go ahead and alter those to just keep the same look of it, but that, for the most part, works pretty well. After you're done making upgrades, don't forget to make sure your insurance plan is updating. Having automatic payments on will do it automatically. Otherwise, you may want to buy the missing insurance because our ship's value is now up to 73,000. So we want to make sure that's insured in case we have an unfortunate collision with a bandit or an asteroid or something like that. Anyway guys, I've spent way too long making my ship pretty for a guide, so I'm gonna head. Thank you very much for watching, hope you found the episode informative. If you have any questions or you would like to see some specific things in future episodes, then let me know in the comments below. That's it for now, I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.